Everybody, welcome to my channel, Be Free Now with Maria. So today I'm going to start out with this deck, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and I'll see where else I decide to go. In other words, what other deck or bag of words or what else I choose to pick from. All right, so I shuffled this deck and I'm going to choose the card on top, which says, relinquish the need to change others. Love that. Relinquish the need to change others. Real love is accepting other people the way they are without trying to change them. If we try to change them, then this means that we don't really like them. It is easier to find someone who is already the way you want him or her to be instead of trying to change that person. Love that. Yes, it sure is easier to just accept them, right? Just to allow them to be who they are and how they are, and not try to force them to be anything different. Now, if they're showing up to life in a way that doesn't feel good to us, then we don't necessarily have to engage, right, in a way that compromises us in any way, right? We may need to make some form of contact for whatever reason, if we need to deal with them for a business or for, other reasons, or if, they're in our families and so forth. But we don't necessarily need to go beyond, into anything too personal or too close or spend a lot of time with someone if we don't feel comfortable for whatever the reason. But trying to change someone really creates thinking of the word like a convoluted dynamic, right? But it's and it just, the dynamic can manifest itself in so many different ways. It just depends on the situation, but it will create stress upon us when we are trying to change someone or force someone to be the way we want them to be. And usually when we're trying to change someone else, it's because there's something about us that we don't like and that we're not approving of. And that's kind of difficult sometimes to see, because we're thinking, no, I'm not like that. They're like that. I don't have that problem. They do. But the reality is, right, that in some way there is something about us that we don't like, and maybe we don't express it the same way as them. In other words, for example, let's say we don't like that they procrastinate. Well, maybe we don't procrastinate the same way they do, but maybe we procrastinate in other areas. So the way we do it may look different, so it gives us the illusion that we're not procrastinating or we don't have that flaw, but we do it. Right. And I quote the flaw because we see it as, a flaw that they have or an issue that they have. But in some way, right, we may be doing the same thing. We generally don't like in others what we don't like in ourselves. If we don't have that within our own consciousness, then we don't really see it in somebody else, because what we're seeing in someone else is what we have in our consciousness, is what we have in our belief system, and it is what we are projecting at all times. So if we're having a negative thought about somebody, chances are, right, we're having that negative thought about ourselves in some way, shape, or form. Again, it may not be identical, and that's why it's hard to identify sometimes, or we don't like to see ourselves in that way, but that doesn't make it any less true that in some way there are things about us that we don't like, and so then we tend to see in others what we don't like in them. And instead of working and being present with what is for ourselves, we then try to change other people, because we're under the illusion, right, that if they change and if they can just show up different, if they can just be better, our relationship could be better, everything would be better, right? Or everything that isn't good, and when I say everything, right, everything that isn't good would be good, it would be better. And it is not 100% true. And what we're doing is setting unrealistic expectations, and that creates a stressor and a dynamic that will leave us feeling really yucky and stressed and so forth. So what we want to do is focus on ourselves. Every time we see something in somebody else that we don't like, focus on ourselves, which, like I said, may sound bizarre. But when we focus on ourselves and we say, okay, I'm having this thought about them, right? Okay, that's interesting. I'm clear that I don't like X, Y, and Z, right? But how is that related to me? In which way am I not liking a part of myself, right? And can I be, right? Is it possible? When I say can I be, is it possible, right? We want to question that for ourselves because we don't see it. So whether it's true or not, if we don't see it, it's not our truth. So in order to be able to even possibly contemplate, right, or see that in ourselves, then we want to ask ourselves, right, in which way am I, right, procrastinating, or in which way am I whatever it is that we're, saying they are, or complaining about what they're not doing and so forth, right? In which way am I? Because that then turns it around and gives us the opportunity to grow as opposed to perseverate on the other person, because that isn't really taking us to where we want to be. It is keeping us spinning on something that isn't going to really give us, there really isn't a payoff there, isn't going to give us anything, surely not going to expand us. It's just going to keep us in that yucky space with that yucky dynamic and with our negative beliefs about that other person, but not really growing and looking within as to what may be going on within ourselves, and growing from that. All right, so I will pick a bag. I'm going to pick a word from my bag of words and see if there's anything else I feel inspired to share to this message. Let's see. Oh, frustration. So that's fascinating, right? That we should get this word, because frustration is exactly right what we're going to feel when we're trying to change somebody else. And sometimes we may even feel frustration when we're trying to learn about ourselves, and we're finding ourselves in some, in a block, and saying, well, I'm not really kind of making the headway that I want to, or I don't really see it. And so then that's the time to not really push it, to just ask the question, and then if you get an answer, you get an answer, and if you don't, no judgments. Just notice how you feel and allow that to be. That's, one way to approach it. Another way to approach it, right, could be that, you can get external help. You can, access, different resources that may give, information about, your psyche, if you're interested in that, if you want to take that approach. But it's not really necessary. I mean, it's an option. It's not necessarily the only option. We can just journal, and that, alone could allow, right, some of these thoughts to flow. And through that process, we may see, oh my, look at what I've been thinking about myself. And then we can see, right, oh, the connection. So there's, no right or wrong. It's ultimately, what works. But being aware that if there's something in someone that we're not liking, instead of trying to change them, we work on understanding ourselves, and that creates a bigger shift for ourselves and for our relationships. So I'm going to end with that. I hope that this video has helped you in some way. If it did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified when I upload further videos. All right, I'm going to end with that, like I said, and have a beautiful day. Bye for now.